be in the kitchen cooking pies. I'm like, hey, what's up, hello? Seen your pretty face soon as you walked in the door. Welcome back to my channel. Today is a reading wrap up. We're gonna go through the 12 books I read in October. I said 12, but it's definitely 14. All right, let's get into this bad boy. I'm gonna go in order of how I read the books, except for this first one because I have no idea where it goes in the order. So we're just gonna talk about it now. I read The Girl Next Door by Jack Ketchum. And this book, I ended up giving it 5 stars. It literally blew my freaking marbles. And then I watched the movie afterward, and the movie just like did nothing in comparison to this book. But also, can we talk about why this book is $34? So strange, but I refused to buy the other cover because it was ugly. Hello. Anyways, The Girl Next Door is about a girl whose name is Meg. Her and her sister Susan, they move in with their aunt after their parents pass away in a tragic car accident, and then little by little their home situation becomes just worse and worse, especially for Meg. And we see it through the perspective of their next door neighbor named Dave. This is the true story. It is fiction, like it's fictionalized, but it's based on the true story of Sylvia Likens. So it's just incredibly terrifying. All of the disturbing things that happen in here, to know that they are like pretty accurate things that happened in real life, and people are just sick. Honestly. Anyways, I gave it 5 stars. Do I recommend this book? No, I do not. However, I had both the worst and the best time in my life. I can't explain it. Like, it was just like one of those things where it's like, this is so disturbing, but I cannot look away. And that's why I get 5 stars. And it was, in my opinion, well written, you know? The Atlas 6 by Alvy Blake. I ended up giving this 3 stars. I didn't think I was going to continue with this series because I just was like, the magic system was very interesting to me. The like relationships that the characters have with each other, but I just felt like the execution of this, I don't know, like I was kind of bored in the middle. It was a little slow for me. Like I wanted to see how things would turn out, but I wasn't necessarily interested in what was going on in the moment. But then when we got to the end, I was like, whoa, oh my Lanta, I need to know what happens next. So I like the direction it's going in, and I probably will read the next book in the series, and we'll go from there about whether I'll read the last one, you know? But I didn't describe what this book is about. The Atlas 6 is a very popular book, so hopefully you've heard about it, but if you haven't, it is about a group of 6 people who can do magic. They don't call them magicians, they call them like something else. But essentially the Library of Alexandria has like a wealth of knowledge, a plethora of knowledge, and they are competing to join this like society, I guess you could call it, that protects the Library of Alexandria. And basically only 5 of them can join, but 6 of them are chosen to like kind of do this competition. And I think that they say that this is like the Hunger Games meets magic or something like that. I don't know if I agree with that description, but it is definitely a competition, and only 5 can come out of 6. That's the tea. The Crimson Moth by Kristen Ciccarelli. I was a little bit confused about what was going on here, but then I realized that the Crimson Moth is actually, I think, the UK title. In the US, it's called The Heartless Hunter. That book you've probably seen around. It's been pretty popular on the interwebs, in my opinion. Anyways, the Crimson Moth is about this girl. She's the Crimson Moth, and she kind of is known to help witches get out of captivity. So like being a witch has kind of been outlawed, and like if you are a witch, you know, they capture you, and you know, and she is a witch who gets those witches out, helps them escape. And then there's also the perspective of a love interest who is the like top witch hunter. So you know how that goes. I think some of this is like the magic system. Oh, my bookmark. Hello. Anyways, the magic system, it is interesting how they like portray and use blood magic. However, some of it is like honestly gross. It was really distracting. I also felt like the love situation was a little bit like immature in my opinion. But it was realistic, and I kind of enjoyed how this book ended, because it doesn't end the way that you would think with that situation, which is, I don't kind of want to say what I want to say without ruining anything. I will just say that I feel like the relationship of the characters was very realistic, and I kind of like, it was refreshing to get that, you know? So that's the tea. I don't know why I keep saying that's the tea. I'm drinking hot chocolate though. Like, does that count? All right, the next book I'm reading that I already read, I'm not reading it, is The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer. I ended up giving this book 5 stars, even though there was a part in the book that I didn't enjoy, because it wasn't necessarily like the writing or what was going on. I just felt like this book was very fantastical, very fantasy heavy, dreamlike, you know. And then there was like just one part in the book where it just got like very realistic, and I was like, ugh, this is not what I'm here for. So that's the only thing. But like the beginning and the end were so good that I can't not give this book 5 stars. The Wishing Game is basically about this author who is like really famous for writing these like Clock Island books, and then he basically stops writing and is a recluse. And then one day he says, you know what, hey everybody, I wrote a new book, I'm only making 1 copy, I'm not publishing it, and whoever comes to my island and competes and wins this competition will win this 1 book. So our main character here, she, you know, really is in financial need, and having a book like this exclusive and whatever could open a lot of doors and opportunities for her. So she enters, well, she has the privilege of entering the competition, because you can't just like enter, like you have to be invited. Anyways, I'm obsessed. I wish that I could read like this is about a book series called the Clock Island books, and like I wish I could read the Clock Island books. They sound so good, and there's all these like riddles and like mind trickery stuff that I thought was really awesome and well done. So highly enjoyed. Long Live Evil by Sarah Reese Brennan is about a girl who enters I can't remember, I think it was a book. Yes, okay. You know how I remember it's a book? Because this is the book, Time of Iron. And I thought that was so clever that under the desk rack they had the book from inside the book. Anyways, she enters the book as one of the characters, and plot twist, she is a villain when she enters it. And so, yeah, it's kind of just the story of her kind of corralling the other villains and like navigating the world of the Time of Iron. And this is kind of her chance at seizing a like second opportunity at life. I ended up giving it 3 stars. I was just honestly kind of bored. I don't think maybe that this was necessarily like the book for me, although I wish it was, because the like premise of it and the world and everything is kind of cool. And I will say that there were like a few little like funny moments, but I felt like this was meant to be like hilarious, and I just didn't think that. Sleep Tight by J.H. Markert. This book is about a woman who she's a detective. She's the daughter of a detective who put away this really infamous serial unaliver, whose name is Father Silence. And they call him that because he used to dress up as a priest to kind of lure his victims. And then when he was caught, he stopped talking forever until the day that he was executed. And so now the guy who caught him's daughter is dealing with her daughter being kidnapped, and there seems to be a tie between the person who took her daughter and Father Silence, and she's kind of navigating that and trying to save her daughter. And this book, I gave it 5 stars. I was so unsettled. I don't know why all the books that just like made me feel so wrong and uncomfortable and like gave me this heavy feeling in my chest, I gave 5 stars to. But I just felt like, even though there was a lot going on in this book, like so much, and every character had their own thing, it was just like so interesting. And we just have like some elements that I don't want to say because I don't know if it'll like ruin some of the like surprise elements of the book, but those parts are like what I like in a book. And I can't even. It's so good. I'm not doing this book justice. Like, I want to do something better about it, but it's just like the mind, like the psychological aspect of this book, I think is what like blew me away, because I truly had no idea what was going on. Like, I at some parts I was like, I'm confused. Is this book supernatural? Is this book like paranormal? Is it fantasy? Like, is there magic? Like, how is this stuff even possible in this crime? That's how insane it was. But it was so good, and I highly recommend that you read this book. I think it's probably my favorite of the month. A Dark and Drowning Tide by Alison Saft is about a girl who wants to be a naturalist. I still don't know what that means. I should probably look it up, don't you think? Anyways, she has the opportunity to do that by going on this like voyage with, I think he's the king, some kind of ruler. So anyways, he wants to harness this like water source that has magic, and like that magic is supposed to I think he thinks that the magic from that like water source is gonna help him to just like continue to reign and like keep his power. And so she goes on this expedition with him to kind of like promote her career, and it ends up being that she has to go on that expedition with Sylvia DeWild, I think is her last name, and that is her academic rival. And so there's a lot of like forests that change in the night, lots of like mystical and magical creatures that they kind of have to like overcome and stuff. I think that like for a lot of this book, I wanted to give it like 3 stars, but I ended up bringing it up to 4 stars just because I thought this book was just like so unique, and like the dark, like broody vibes of it was just like what I needed. So I enjoyed it, and also I'm pretty sure that this is the most gorgeous book that I own. Like, it is so flippin' beautiful, like what the French toast. I'm obsessed. The Last Tale of the Flower by Roshani Chokshi is about a dude who is married to Indigo, this woman who kind of has like this secret past, but like they agreed when they met and got like married and everything, that he would not ask about that past. But, you know, they have this thing between them where they tell these like stories and stuff, like these fantasy stories, and like weaved within those stories is kind of like some of her story and stuff. And so things happen where he kind of gets curious about her past, and he like just can't like contain himself anymore to not know like what her secret is. And I gave this book also 4 stars. It definitely was not what I was expecting it to be. And I think I thought it was going to be a lot more like beautiful, because I think it's just like the writing. It's like very flowery, like beautiful writing. So it's interesting like what the topic was about. But yeah, it was like pretty interesting. So like Indigo's aunt is dying, so they go back to like her childhood home, which is the House of Dreams. And the House of Dreams, you know, kind of holds a lot of her secrets, and like the secret of Indigo's story with her best friend Azor. And I also think it's really interesting that like the main character doesn't really have a name either. He's just like referred to as the bridegroom, but every other character has a name, which is interesting because they're the ones with the secrets, not him. So that was like a curious take. I will say that I kind of enjoyed the POV of Indigo and Azor, but then when we were in the POV of the bridegroom, I wasn't enjoying that much of the story, but I did end up giving this 4 stars. And I'm kind of noticing a trend here that it was like a good reading month for me, because I don't think I read any books that were less than 3 stars. And right now they're all 4 and up, except for the Alice 6. So I'm also forcing myself to read my physical TBR. Like my goal is by the end of this month, November, I will have 0 unread books. Well, I mean, that's not really going to happen because I'm inevitably going to get my box subscriptions. And I get like 6 of those. But I think that I'm off to a good start. I'm in the middle of like 6 books right now. It's so bad. But I have faith in myself that I could read a lot of books this month. Okay, this is going to be my best reading month yet. Just you wait, okay? My high score is 21. And that was in July because I was trying to beat 27. I just felt it in my soul that I could, and I didn't, but I feel like I could. So we're gonna try again this month, right? Anyways, delusions of grandeur aside, the next book I read was Big Swiss by Jen Began. This is about Greta, who transcribes sessions for an sex therapist. Can you say that word on the internet? Probably, because people are obsessed. Anyways, she transcribes these therapy sessions for him, and then one day she's out at a dog park and she recognizes the voice of one of these clients that the therapist has, and they kind of form this like relationship. She kind of becomes obsessed with this patient. Is not necessarily completely honest, and this book I gave 4 stars as well. It's definitely like literally it says a fantastic, weird as heck, super funny novel. That is like the perfect description of this book, because it's just like everything is so flippin' weird and strange. Like these characters are so weird. It's contemporary fiction. Like there's nothing like fantastical or anything like that at all. It's just that this character is like out of this world, like strange personality, and like does like weird things, and has a dog named Pignon, and like I don't know, very just like odd person in general. Yeah. I'm running out of saliva. We've been here for 25 minutes. Guys, it's hard to talk a lot. Like, you imagine being a teacher and talking all day long? It sucks. Okay. Somewhere Beyond the Sea by TJ Klune. is the sequel to The House in the Cerulean Sea, which is one of my favorite books of all time. And so I think I couldn't give this book like any higher than 4 stars because it just isn't. Sequels are never the same. I wouldn't say that I'm like disappointed by this one, but it just definitely doesn't hold up a candle to the first one. So The House in the Cerulean Sea is about Linus Baker, who gets enlisted by extremely upper management at the Department of Magical Youths to go visit an orphanage with some extremely dangerous magical youths. And then, you know, he just kind of learns a lot about them, about himself. It's a very beautiful story with some very strange and hilarious characters. I think that the new character in this one, he's a yeti. He's so cute. And it was definitely heartwarming. It was funny. It was sweet. It was cute. There was found family, like all the cozy vibes. So definitely love, 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 love this book. If you haven't read The House in the Cerulean Sea, do yourself a favor and go read it. Part of your world. What would I give if I could live out of these waters? Why am I like this? Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez is about this girl who's Dr. Alexis. She is, her life kind of sucks. She's in the middle of a breakup. She has like parents who like expect so much of her. She just can never live up to their expectations. And then like someone in her family passes away. So she drives off to visit the funeral. And on her way home, her car, I think it goes into like a ditch. I don't know. It's just like a very small detail in the beginning of the story, but she needs help and this dude in this small town helps her. And then she kind of thinks, wouldn't it be like fun and crazy and exciting to have a no strings attached relationship with this 10 years younger small town dude? And that is how she ends up falling in love, right? It's a love story. Okay. Oh, I forgot to tell you what I thought about it. I love that book. It was definitely like very, very funny, sweet, heartwarming, but also it was so much deeper than I thought it was going to be. There is a lot of talk about just a different type of abuse than like what is typically spoken about and what people typically think about when they think of abuse. And so it was really beautiful and kind of like healing to read about that and read about a character and like her friends who like support her through this and just kind of open people's eyes and perspective to just like the different types of ways that we can be, you know, not the best to each other. And also like it's interesting, we don't get the perspective of that character, but it's like you still kind of understand his perspective and where he comes from and how like he doesn't really see himself as like a bad person, but he does these things just because of like his own like trauma and situations. Anyways, I immediately bought Yours Truly, which I don't think is like necessarily like a sequel. It's like an interconnected series within like the same world. So I think that her best friend is the main character in that book, you know, kind of like the Spanish Love Deception and the American Roommate Experience types vibes, you know. Anyways, I'm really excited to read the second book because I really, really, really enjoyed this. I gave it 4 stars. And I'm not really sure why I didn't give it 5 stars. I guess I just didn't really have like that 5-star feeling, but there wasn't anything that I like didn't like about the book. It was really good. And like just like the small town vibes, it found family, the healing, the like and I love that she's a boss babe. Okay. The Night Ends with Fire by KX Song. I believe I gave this book 3 stars. I was like, I think that the reason I enjoyed this, maybe I would say like 3.5 stars. It was pretty good. I went into it completely blind. I knew just by like the design and everything that this was going to be some kind of Asian inspired book. I got it in a subscription box and I just said, you know what, it's time to read it. Let's go for it. I opened it up, and as I'm reading it, I was like, oh my Lanta. This is a Mulan retelling. And it's a dark fantasy Mulan retelling about a girl who goes, essentially like the 3 kingdoms are at war, and she just disguises herself as Mulan does as a man and enlists to fight. And as she's there, she, you know, forms relationships with like the men in her, I forgot what they're called, platoon and whatever. And you're kind of like going through that story with her. I think that, and I was listening to a little bit of an interview with this author afterwards, and I agree with like what she was saying, that like the thing that makes this book like so different and so interesting is like, I feel like Mulan in the movies, she enlists because she has this sense of like duty, and she's like this hero and whatever. In this book, Mulan is more of, she enlists for like purely selfish reasons. And I don't mean it in like a bad way, like, oh, she's so selfish, but it's just like, she doesn't want to be like married off to someone else to save her family, and she wants to get away from that. And like, that is more of like her driving reason behind doing this. And also, you know, that changes a lot. The relationship between her and like this prince that she meets is very different. So it was a very, very different take on Mulan, kind of like as a character and a person, and I thought that was really interesting. And this is also a really flippin' beautiful book. Like, come on now, shut the front door. Let's talk about this one. Are you ready? So pretty. All right. Next, I read Immortal Dark by Tigist Gurma. I gave this book 3.5 stars as well. This is essentially a book about this orphaned heiress named Kidan. And Kidan is convinced that this vampire bound to her family named Susinyos had something to do with the disappearance of her sister. And so in order to kind of avenge her sister, get to the bottom of things, she infiltrates the Uxley University, which is essentially a university that humans and vampires go to. And their whole premise is like, they are instilling justice and harmony to ensure that vampires and people can live in unison and live like harmoniously. And yeah, basically she wants to unalive Susinyos, infiltrate this university, figure out and save her sister if she is not unalived. And throughout that, she is kind of like taking these classes and trying to pass. It's interesting because the classes are kind of phrased as like this like competition, right? So like the professor doesn't give a flying fadoodle about anyone, and he thinks like, only like I have to pass one of you so the class doesn't get canceled, so probably only one of you are gonna pass. And that was mostly the part that was like kind of interesting, and also like the relationships that she forms with the people in this class with her. And there's like the stakes of like, will she pass or not? Because if she doesn't pass, she's getting the axe, and then she cannot save her sister, you know? I just like, as a YA fantasy, I felt like there wasn't necessarily like a spicy scene in this book, but there was like spice adjacent. And it made me so uncomfortable. I did not like it. Not even a little bit. it. It was a very interesting take on vampires though, and like how that situation works, especially because these vampires are they're not like the Cullens, okay? They don't shine. They have a very rich, like African, I think Ethiopian, like history. So they definitely have like their own like culture as vampires. It's really interesting, and you know, they're also just trying to like coexist with humans. But they, you know, still have this like dark nature to them. And then oh, the bites, when the vampires bite you, and like how like where they bite you is associated with like different things. It's just kind of like strange and makes me really uncomfortable, and was honestly just, I think, inappropriate for the age group that this book is targeted to, but that is just another story, I guess. And yeah, the other thing is that this book is flippin' gorgeous again, and this isn't even like a special edition or anything. This is just literally the regular first edition of the book, and it's just gorgeous. I'm running out of saliva, but luckily this is the last book I read. It's called The Breakup Packed by Emma Lord, which is interesting because I don't think that this cover really, I guess, encompasses how I was envisioning this book, but it does match with the vibe of the coffee shop that she runs, because they said it was like Bridgerton-y or whatever. Anyway, so this girl, whose name I already forgot, it's June. She and Levi were really good friends, and June is dating this dude, Gideon, I think, some weird name. He goes on like a reality TV show, and then he does this like really embarrassing breakup, and she's like crying hysterically, and he records it, and she goes viral, and everyone kind of makes fun of her and sees her as like a crying girl on the internet. So she kind of has like this failing business, and she kind of is on a deadline from her landlord to kind of make up some money to ensure that she can keep her business, which is really important to her because it was founded by her sister who recently passed away. And while she's kind of trying to save this business that she has, a tea shop on the beach with the vibe of Bridgerton, very strange, but whatever, very different. Levi is kind of going through his own embarrassing breakup, and they're kind of just going through and using their social media like infamy to help her business. So and then I can't remember what his thing is. Oh, he doesn't want to break up with his girlfriend, and he wants to make her jealous so she will come running back to him. So they come up with a pact to pretend that they're dating to mutually benefit the both of them. Her to get her image back from crying girl, and him to get revenge on his ex and get her back. And then people on the internet called them the revenge couple or something like that. The revenge exes. Yeah, the social media vibe. Anyways, it was a pretty good book, I will say. I think I gave it 3 stars. It was pretty short. It was sweet. It was a little cute, a little funny, like nothing crazy. I don't have much to say about this book, to be honest. I read it kind of quickly. It was like nothing special or different, you know? I don't know how to describe it. That's okay. Anyways, that was it. Thank you for watching. I'm so happy. It's been like 45 minutes of me, like, and my spit is drying up in my mouth. I've been talking so much. So I hope y'all enjoyed. If you did, hit that like button. If you made it this far, leave a, I don't think we have tea, but like the little coffee mug emoji in the comments. If you want to join the family, hit that subscribe button. I will see you all when I see you next Bye.